So I was just turning off my camera from doing my vlog, my little catch-up vlog I did, and I realized, oh, I should look and see what the topic of the week is for the YouTube Pagan Challenge, and it is, how do you feel about group work and worship? I thrive off of it. I thrive off of it, I'm sure in great part, because my earliest experience in pagan spirituality was in circle. And that thing that happens, the thing you create when you're in circle, the gathering prayer that I use when I lead circles, begins with, this is our temple. We gather with respect, blending our energies, knowing that together we are more than we could ever be apart. It is by our presence we declare this space sacred, a place of worship, truth, and beauty. Together we're more than we can ever be apart. My first experience of the coming together of pagans and the spirit they create by that coming together was so powerful, so absolutely mind-blowingly powerful. All these years later, I remember the first experience of being taken away on the energy of that. I'm going to adjust this camera because it looks like I'm chopping my head off. Let's try that instead. Nobody needs that close up of a view of me. So the first time, actually a good part of the first year that I was in my first circle, as a dedicant to that circle, our job was to be carried away on the energy of the circle. In our unit today, we were studying what was going on and why, and later we would make our own very deep individual contributions to that energy flow. But the freedom in those early days of just being present and being taken away, truly through the hearts and energies of loved ones surrounding me in the circle, that made me a junkie for group workings. No less, the magics I was learning at the time had to do with what you do when you came together, whether it was in Espit or Sabbat celebrations or we came together for a particular working. But as a young woman, the ecstasy of release, of giving over to, in a way the freedom of practicing in group. I know that can sound odd to say to some solitaries who've never had or don't want group experience. I talk about the freedom of being in a group, but always, without fail, the experience was amazing. Sometimes it was because I was so there and I contributed more than my share to the energy that was raised, to the focus of our circle. Other times when I wasn't there, for who knows how many different reasons, to be taken away by what my brothers and sisters shared was just as amazing. When I found myself for the first time working alone, after a decade of that circle, I wasn't quite sure what to do, because I had not been in need of much in the way of solitary activities, meditations and silent prayer and things like that, but not really active doing at the solitary level. And there I found myself then, alone. I wasn't quite sure what to do with myself. But as so many of you know, who are there by circumstance or choice, it's glorious. It's glorious to be alone. That widening of creativity, the full understanding of the acceptance of responsibility. I have no complaints about the shift. In the ending of that first group that I was part of for so many of those formative years, it was a good thing to take that into my solitary years. But the thing is that The whole time I was a solitary, what I learned powerfully was the power of being a solitary, what one could do, what could one manifest, the creativity and the application of your own one unique energy to the universe. How immense and how powerful was that? I actually had to learn that in that first time alone, which lasted for several years. The great thing that happened is the next time I had an opportunity to be with another circle, which was the next 15 years or so of my life. I have to admit that the combination of what happened in group and what I chose to do when I worked alone made it perfect. That first decade, not knowing any better, not having been solitary, I didn't know what I was missing. What happened in that next experience, that decade and a half with my next, beloved group. That to me was the perfect balance. It remains so to this day. What I do when I work on my own, and I work every Espat and Sabbat alone, even when I've gathered with another or others, and what I do in a group. I cherish each thing for its unique gift to me. I also cherish it because each thing brings out something different in me, which I make an offering of. I really need group energy, though. I'm really missing at this point in my life, I've said it in videos before, being in an established working group. I have a working partner nowadays. The two of us get things done, and I love it. Even then, I will still do my own thing, in addition to whatever it is that we choose to do together. But I yearn, truly yearn, to be part of a group dynamic again. I have been blessed 3 times in my life, for a decade, then for a decade and a half, and then for almost another decade, to be part of the most amazing circles of men and women. I can stop and think now and be in the energy of each of those 3, even after all the years that separate me from them. Well, the ending of my first one wasn't what I would like to have. It wasn't the best of circumstances, but the next 2, they ended because it was so right that folks moved on. I literally moved away from my second coven. And then I moved away from my third coven when we moved here. Everything felt right about those 2 endings. But I can sit here now, imagine myself in the circle, that first one from the 70s, and then the one that was later on in the 80s, and then the one I had before we moved here. I can sit here and be totally present in the energy, within the love of those people. I guess I'm a bit of a junkie for group workings, both from what I can contribute to that greater thing, to the spirit of that circle, what it becomes, that's bigger than the sum of our individual parts. And also because of how it can, without exception, for me, take me away on its energy. I remember going into a circle hours after my best friend passed away. Oh, it entered my mind that I wouldn't go to circle that Yule. It was so fresh, that death, in my memory. I didn't think I could leave at the portal to my circle what I needed to leave behind to step into circle with my loved ones. And there was this voice that said to me, I swear, it was her voice, know what you need. Step into it. That circle that night, I was supposed to have led it. I did not. I did have one of my coven mates take over for me. that circle that night, where I could be present and literally ask my circle and my loved ones within it to take me with you. I didn't know what I needed from that circle, but I went into it and opened my heart, and it took me away. It took me away. I opened myself up to what was coming into me at a time I felt like I had nothing to offer. As a solitary, I've had that kind of relationship with my deities. When I've gone to them with, today, I either have nothing or don't know what I can offer to you. I'm your vessel today. Fill me. It's not that that doesn't happen as a solitary, but without fail, with my 3 circles, I have never had an experience that did not fill me up and take me away. Whether I was actively contributing to that at the moment, or whether I let myself be taken away. Today, ideally, I'd be back in a full-sized coven. It may get there. My working partner I put out, that's our intent. But what we do together, what any potential coven I'll be part of again do together, and what I do alone is the balance of it all to me. Give me a good group, though, my friends. Give me that group that I trust so explicitly, as I have all 3 of my covens, to let myself be taken away on the wings of. Yeah, I'll take that any day. But my learning in my, how old was I, early 30s, was the balance to that. Is the power of what I do, a witch alone. Group activity, group focus, group celebration. My thoughts on that for this week's topic for the YouTube Pagan Challenge. I wish you all mirth and reverence. Merry part.